Hello everyone. Well, in this video, I'm going to discuss about the delete request. From the name itself, we can understand that this request is used for deleting the resource which is at the server. In our test application, there is an endpoint using which you can delete the job entry from the test application. So let me open the Swagger documentation. So this is the endpoint using which you can delete the job entry from the server. This endpoint takes the path parameter, that is the job ID. From this path parameter, the server will know that which corresponding job entry it should delete. So here I use one more term, that is the path parameter. First, let me explain the difference between the path parameter and the query parameter. The path parameter, also known as URI parameter, is used to locate a resource. In the current endpoint, that is with the delete request, using the job ID, we will try to locate the job entry which we want to delete. Whereas in case of query parameter, they are used for filtering. In case of path parameter, you don't need to specify them in the form of key value pair. You just need to specify the value along with the request URL. So this endpoint is already mapped in the application. An application knows that if the delete request is coming after the remove keyword, the parameter which will be passed is a job ID. And also one way to identify the path parameter is that it can be easily seen along with the URL. So in this case, the path parameter is ID. So let me show you the working of this endpoint via Postman first. So first, using the post request, I'm going to create a new job entry. And then I'm going to send the delete request. Along with the request, I will specify the job ID value as the path parameter. So delete request. This is the base URL to the application. And this is the context path. As I mentioned earlier, whenever you are using the path parameter or the URI parameter, you just need to specify the value along with the request URL. So in our case, we just need to specify the job ID here. And now when I send the delete request, server is going to use this particular path parameter to identify which job entry it should delete. And we get the response as 200 OK. After this, I'm going to send the get request with the query parameter to search for this particular job entry. And then I'm going to send the request. So as you can see here, we are getting the status code as 404, and the response message clearly highlights that job entry with ID 2110 is not present in the application. Let me send the delete request one more time. In this case, we got the 404 because job entry with this ID is not present in the application. Now let me show you how you can send the delete request using the Karate framework. So in the top level package, I'm going to add a new package. And let me call it as delete request. Inside this package, I'm going to add a feature file. And let me call it as delete job entry. Inside this feature file, I will use the feature keyword, provide the short title and a description. After this, I will use the background section to initialize the base URL. And then I will create the scenario. So this is the scenario which I'm going to automate. First, I'm going to create a new job entry. And then I'm going to send the delete request to delete the newly created job entry. Then I will send the get request with the query parameter, and the query parameter will have the job ID which was deleted in the second step. So for the get request, I will validate on the status code, that is 404. So in order to create the new job entry, I will use our helper feature file. So let me copy this 3 statement to our current scenario. So this statement is going to create a new job entry. After this, I'm going to send the delete request. So given path and this is the context path for the endpoint. In order to provide the job ID along with the request, I will just append the job ID with this URL. As this is not a JSON object, so I can use variable name, and this is going to append the job ID with our request URL. After that, I will specify the headers. After this, I will send the delete request. And then add the validation on the status code. After the delete request, I am going to send the get request with the query parameter. Specify the query parameters. And then specify the header. And then send the get request. In this case, we should receive 404 as the status code. Now let me add the runner for this feature file. And then let me run this runner. So our scenario is failed. Let me rerun the runner. So our scenario is passing. The other scenario which I'm going to add is to invoke the delete request on the same job ID twice. So let me create a duplicate copy of this scenario. So I'm going to remove the section where I'm sending the get request and just send the delete request again. So when I'm sending the delete request second time, as the job entry is already deleted, we should receive 404 as the status code. And let me run this runner. So both of our scenario are passing. With the delete request, in most of the cases, there is no request body is associated. That's why you can see here, we did not even attach the empty request body. So in this manner, you can send the delete request.